Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today's guest is the Nashville recording artist. Well, not quite recording artist, but he has been to Nashville once.
A vacation there.
Right. Tod Pronto. He is also the executive director of NEK TV. Welcome to the show.
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Fresh back from vacation, and it was really good to not be here for a couple of weeks. But you were me.
I was you. I feel like I've been on TV an awful lot lately when you asked me to fill in because your other guest we have to do later in the day, and we were doing the political debate Monday.
Right.
So I'm kind of the fill-in, and I said,
How
boy,
did it feel to be me?
It's not too bad. Did you catch any of my opening statements?
No, actually, I didn't.
I said, hi, I'm Tod Pronto, filling in for Scott Wheeler with more hair.
Right. Yeah. And, so I'm glad my show survived.
It did.
Yeah, it probably actually thrived.
I think it did. I had the former governor of Vermont on here.
Yeah, because he probably heard that you were going to be.
Yeah, he wasn't going to show up until he heard that I was doing it.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, but you're on the show today
am.
talk about you do aspire to be Toby Keith, I understand.
Maybe not Toby Keith, but
Wayne Warner.
Yeah, Wayne.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually played a show. I played quite a bit. I'm playing a show with Wayne on November 7th at the East Side Restaurant for the Hunger Fest.
Right.
But that's a whole separate interview you're going to do next week.
Right.
But yeah, somewhere in between Wayne Warner and Toby Keith.
Right.
I think I'll fit in between the two somewhere.
But in all seriousness, you have been to Nashville and you have
Yes.
performed in Nashville.
Yeah,
What
quite a
is
bit.
it? I've traveled the United States, but I've never been to Nashville. What is it like?
You never have?
No.
I always tell people it's not a huge city. I don't know the population, but the population is, I think it's around 1.5 million. It's a big population, but I tell people it's like Burlington with a few skyscrapers, because it's really not a big city, and you have 5 major highways or interstates that intersect right in the heart of Nashville. So it's a big trucking route. But you can get on the highway and in 10 minutes be in an area just like we are here, right out of the city.
Well, you know, that was kind of like, I was over in, I passed through Las Vegas recently, and I was amazed how small that city was. It was, a little bit bigger than Newport. It was Newport with skyscrapers.
Newport with skyscrapers.
And a lot of casinos.
Maybe that's what we need.
So what took you to Nashville?
To Nashville? I've been performing music since I was like 16 years old. I was in a bunch of different bands, and then I went on my own and just started playing the acoustic guitar. And I opened up for Wayne Warner and Mark McGuinn. I don't know if you recognize that name or not. He had that country hit, Mrs. Steve and Rudy.
Right.
And Wayne's manager, I was talking to him out back, and he says, well, you ought to come record in Nashville. And I said, no, I'm not a country singer, I'm a folk singer. And he said, well, what kind of musicians do you like? And I said, well, I like John Hyatt and Ryan Adams and Steve Earle. And he goes,
Toby Keith.
And Toby Keith, love Toby Keith. And he goes, all those people that you're talking about record in Nashville. They're not necessarily country artists. And what I've always kind of done is I've taken they call it Americana, which is like your roots, your folk and traditional roots, and you add blues and you add rock. And so he convinced me to come down to Nashville. So I went with my ex from years ago to Nashville to visit it for the first time.
Was that when you were dating Taylor Swift?
That was when I was with Taylor Swift, yeah. And Taylor took me there. And I performed in the city a bunch, and then I ended up going back and recording there, and then I spent a ton of time there.
What was it like to know you? Because there's a lot of you that goes down to Nashville hoping to be found.
It's incredible.
But what was it like?
It was a little nerve-wracking, especially at first because, the first time I ever played, the place doesn't even exist anymore. It was in the Hall of Fame. Okay, so the old Country Music Hall of Fame used to be up on Music Row. It's now downtown. And they had taken this and they called it the original Hall of Fame Cafe or something. And it was basically an open mic type thing where everybody has 12 minutes, and behind you it said, the Country Music Hall of Fame on this stage behind you. And there's all these people in the audience, and it was really, I was really nervous because I had at that point never performed for an audience that wasn't here in my hometown. I grew up in Newport, and still to this day, it seems like every time I play a show, there's at least 20 people there that are at every show that I play. So this was like a whole new audience. There was only one person in the audience that I knew.
Yeah, I find from doing public speaking that it's a little unnerving, like to know nobody. I prefer to know people. Do you feel that way, or do you like to be anonymous?
I like to. I like performing at home, but I really like playing for an audience that's never heard me before. I kind of enjoy that because I can kind of reinvent the wheel, I guess. I can lie about who I am. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, it took me, but it was really scary at first because you have all these people from record companies that are there, and things have changed quite a bit, but this very first guy came up to me, and you can, if you ever go to Nashville and sing, you can get taken advantage of really easily. There's this guy that came up to me after. He was wearing all black, leather trench coat, white hair, and he says, "Son, you write all those songs yourself?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he hands me his card, and he goes, "Well, I'd like to do some business with you." And his name was Gene Cash. And I said, "Oh, related to Johnny, are you?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, distantly." And he goes, "I want to make a music video of you. You call me tomorrow." And so I'm thinking, this is before the internet. This is the archaic days of 2003, I think. And so I had no way of researching him, but I kept saying to my girlfriend at the time, I said, this just doesn't seem right. So I called the guy. We were in downtown Nashville. We were right in front of Robert's Western World, which is a great place where you could go get a nice Stetson hat and some cowboy boots if you wanted to. And I called him, and he says, "Well, I'm out in Hillsboro, and if you come out here, I've got a green screen, and we'll shoot a music video of one of your songs right now." And I said, "Well, all due respect, sir, shouldn't you be picking me up if you?" And so nothing ever happened. Come to find out that that's what this guy does. He takes young hopefuls, charges them a couple $1,000s, makes a video of them, and then does nothing with it. There's a lot of that down there, but I learned that pretty quick. But I had a little bit of, I had some help. Wayne Warner kind of helped me. I was prepared for it.
Now in the same scenario, though, you probably would have gone right out back, Googled his name, and found out that he was. Oh
yeah, I should look him up. I wonder if he's on Facebook. But no, there's a lot of that down there. But when I started really getting nervous, though, there's a very popular thing down there called In the Round. And what it is, it's you and 3 other artists that sit in a line. I don't know why it's called In the Round because you sit in a line. But one does a song, another does a song, you do a song, and you go like that for about a half an hour. And I did it with the guy that wrote The Dance for Garth Brooks. I did it with a guy who had just written It's 5 O'Clock Somewhere for Alan Jackson. So here are all these guys like, I wrote this song, blah, 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 and everybody knew their songs, and I'm just like, I wrote this one in Newport, Vermont. But it's an amazing town for writers, and it's not just country. That's a huge misconception, though I do love country music, but I would go as far to say that I like real country music and not what you hear on the radio today.
You mean you like Toby Keith?
Love. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just to let you know is Todd sometimes does not have the best taste in music. He does not realize that Toby Keith is actually a great musician. He ranks right up there with Willie Nelson.
Oh no, he does not. He's not even close. He is a great performer. I've actually never seen him perform live, but everybody that's seen him says he puts on a heck of a show.
Hey, what kind of music is Willie Nelson? Because he's not really singing per se. It's kind of like talking, but I love Willie.
He's kind of like, I don't know, like country jazz. his phrasing is really bizarre, and yeah, he doesn't sing so much as talks, and his guitar playing is like always a couple of beats behind the rest of the band. I talked to the guy that played bass for Willie Nelson, and he says, and nine times out of 10, or most bands, if you're the bass player, you follow the drummer and you guys lock in and the rest of the band locks in. He goes, when you play with Willie, everybody follows Willie, including the drummer. He's definitely unique.
Right. So are you going, now you're working on a new album.
I am, yeah.
And will that take you down to Nashville again?
I'm hoping so. I think where I'm going to go with this album is I write a lot of songs too, and some of them are not even recording. Some songs I write that are more for the purpose of hopefully selling them to others. So the plan with this new album when it comes out is to kind of market it and play, and hopefully go back down to Nashville and try to. For a while I was writing for a publishing company called Keaton Music Ventures, and I had songs on hold. This is how it works with the. So I hate to burst your bubble, but Toby Keith doesn't write all of his music.
What about Willie?
Willie does write all of his music. He does cut some other stuff. So what happens is you get a song publisher or you get a song plugger. And there's two different ways. The publisher will retain some of your copyright and split your publishing with you 50-50. The song plugger charges you a flat fee to pitch your music. And they go into these meetings and they have this thing called a tip sheet. And they know that, say, Toby Keith and Miranda Lambert and, I don't know, Alan Jackson are looking for new music. So then they say, okay, well, I've got this writer named Scott who's written some good songs. How about these? And it's not the artist that listens to it, it's their manager and their producers. And so the producer will say, that'd be a great song, let's keep it, and we'll listen to it again next week, maybe with the artists themselves. Or let's put that on hold. And when it's on hold, nobody else can touch the song. And so this happened to me more than once. I have a song called Broken Hearts that Alan Jackson's people put on hold. And so for 2 months, nobody else could hear the song. And we thought he was going to cut the song. And so I was all excited. I was like 26 years old. I thought I was going to retire. Alan Jackson was going to cut one of my songs. I'd be done. And then he dropped it for the new single, and the song was called I Still Like Baloney. I'm not even kidding. And that's when I quit selling music down in Nashville.
No, what,
actually.
So, but what about that? What about the famous Toby Keith song, Red Solo Cup?
Oh, yeah.
Would you have thought about writing that song?
I would not have. You know who wrote that? Are you familiar with the Warren Brothers?
No.
There are a couple of brothers that are in a band, and they've written a few songs for Garth Brooks, and they're the ones that wrote that song.
So tell me, so a lot of the musicians don't write their own music, but how, like if you wrote a song for some famous person, whether it's Toby or Willie or Taylor Swift. Of course, with Taylor Swift, you'd have to be talking about, your teenage love affair.
Yeah, I could probably do that.
But how come the writer never gets any attention? Like how, writers never have a fan club, do they?
No, not really. It's very. They get their mention in the album credits, but nowadays when people download music, nobody reads those liner notes anymore. They're very well known in Nashville. And, it's kind of like a referral system. Like around here, there's probably 4 hairdressers or barbers that everybody goes to because they're trusted. And that's kind of how it is. Whenever a new artist goes to record, or an artist goes to record a new album, they check out like these 5 main writers. And then once you get a hit, you start getting referrals. And it's tough to break into. But yeah, the good thing is the person that writes that music gets 50% of all the money that song generates. So they actually have to pay a fee just to perform the song. Okay. However, the music industry doesn't really generate any money anymore, right. So it's a little tricky.
Yeah, because Gone Are the Rag. Well, actually, I guess it was there's some records are actually starting to come back. You know,
They are.
records. You know, it's kind of like cool to own a record player now.
Yeah.
But now a lot of stuff is downloaded.
It's almost all downloaded. Yeah, they're trying to. I don't know what's going to happen, but yeah, vinyl's coming back for the dorks like me that still like to have the physical copy and look at the album artwork and see who the writers are and who the musicians are and who produced this album and where it was recorded. And that's one thing that downloads took away from. I don't know if you download music or not.
Todd, you're talking to me. Remember the guy who until you taught me that my laptop could be used as a recorder, I was still using
A tape.
I was still using a tape recorder that Fred and Barney was using back on the Flintstones. So a lot of people confuse me as somebody who's technological because I use a computer all the time, but I know the bare minimum.
Oh,
so
okay.
no, in other words, I don't.
So do you still buy CDs?
No, I don't listen. I turn on the radio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, see, now there's a demographic, and that's why country music is still thriving more than most of the other industries. There's a couple reasons. A, because writers are a big part in Nashville. And even though...
And country music is good.
I agree. And people still buy the physical CDs a lot of times, the demographic for country music.
Right.
But downloads, it's real funny because let's just use Taylor Swift as an example. Do you know how many albums she probably would have sold, not like excluding downloads? Like she sold millions anyway. But if you take away all the free downloads that everybody does and Spotify and all that stuff, can you imagine what she would have sold like back in the say 80s if she had the amount of success she does have? It would be insane.
Yeah, but can you imagine though if she stopped singing about affairs that went bad or something?
Yeah,
or
I don't know.
relationship? She probably wouldn't sell another one because she don't write about anything. And I happen to love Taylor Swift, by the way.
Oh, yeah, no, she's. I wonder where her audience is going to be in 20 years. If she's going to start. I mean, is our songs are going to start going from high school breakups to like divorces? You know, I mean, she resonates though. That's what she does. She resonates with the people, and that's why she's so successful.
All right, Todd. We're going to play a little bit of your work, but first, fill us in. What is this?
Okay, well, this is a song that's going to be on my new album. My new album's called, or will be called, It Can't All Be Wrong. And this song is called The Devil Will Never Win, which I actually wrote in the Nashville days. And I wrote it to be kind of like a gospel song, sort of. Here's what's funny, though. Because of the way the music industry's changed, and they always have these big dance beats behind it so you can get out and shake your groove thing on the dance floor, I kind of, as a joke, put a big dance beat behind it. So in this song, we've got a choir clapping, we've got huge dance beats. It's an eclectic mix, but the original basis of the song was actually sort of country and gospel. So the song's called "The Devil Will Never Win," and it's out on all your favorite digital outlets right now already.
Right. Okay, here it is.
When times get hard, I don't get down. It's easier to walk when you stand. I may not have a whole lot of money, but I'm just fine with who I am. Now I've had ups and I've had downs, do it all over again. As long as I have you here, the devil will never win. No, the devil will never win. The devil will never win. As long as I keep on keeping the faith, the devil will never win. So some dreams get lost in space, some stay here on land. So I keep moving along every chance I can, because the devil will never win. The devil will never win. As long as I keep on keeping the faith, already home because the devil will never win. Devil will never win. As long as I keep on keeping the faith, the devil will never win. No, the devil will never win. The devil will never win. As long as I keep on keeping the faith, the devil will never win. 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 No, the devil will never win.
Oh, geez, Todd, you do have a little bit of talent. I envy people like you who can actually sing, because I have no talent. I could drive people out of Nashville. I could have people pay me
To stop.
not to sing. And I mean that is, there's no,
No musical
no.
background in your family?
No.
None?
No. My wife, when she used to sing lullabies to my children, they were little, I said, I think we've had enough. No, there's nothing.
You're
There's,
scaring the kids.
yeah, no. It's a bad situation. Now, where did you get your voice? Is your father the former mayor of Newport? Is he like a crooner?
No. I
Crooner
don't.
or-
Crooner, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't come from. Okay, so my immediate family,
Right.
there's no music in my immediate family. It's we're like business people. I'm like the black sheep, I guess. But if you go back further into my family's history and on my father's side, there are quite a bit of musicians.
Well, you're French, and when I say that is in interviewing people, the older generation, they were always into the dancing and the kitchen junkets, they used to call them, and you probably had some festive people back then who liked to sing.
Yeah, sort of, but not really. I more just kind of got into music from listening to my parents' old record collection.
Now, what about your mother? Can she sing a tune?
No, not at all.
What about your brothers?
I mean, maybe she can, but she's never done it. And my brothers, no. However, if you talk to my brother Ryan, he'd probably kill me for saying this, but the real estate agent, he likes to joke that I get my musical talent from him. And at a wedding reception or some sort of party, after a few hours and the spirits are getting higher, he might partake in some karaoke, and he's pretty not good.
No. Wouldn't it seem ironic, though, if he went down to Nashville with you and abided a little bit and get up on stage and was discovered?
Yeah, he'd probably get the big record deal or something.
So how do you make an album? Because it isn't just something is it something you just made at home on your tape recorder, or how does this all happen?
Yes and no. It's taken me 5 years to put this album out, and this is why. My Nashville album, I had a little bit of financial backing when I did it, and it's extremely expensive to cut a record in Nashville. I would say, I think it was something like, basically there were 10 songs on that album. Each song cost a minimum of $1,000 to produce. $1,000 just to record the song, because you have to pay for the musicians and the studio time. But I wasn't paying for it, so I'm largely lucky that I got to retain the music, even though I didn't pay for it. This album is partially recorded at my house, and I'm actually doing a fundraising campaign right now on Indiegogo, and we can talk about how that works. But some people did ask me, they said, well, why do you need the money that you're asking for to put this album out? And so the little bit of the background is, over the past 4 years, I've already spent over $3,000 of my own money getting 8 songs ready. That's a lot cheaper than Nashville, but it is recorded at my house, a lot of it. The basic, your bass, your drums, the acoustic guitars, the electrics, the vocals, on a program called Pro Tools, which is an industry standard right now. And However, when you hear a song on the radio, it's been done right. You know, and anybody can go out for the price of a laptop and a free program on the internet, can record an album and say, here it is. But they'll wonder, like, how come my song doesn't sound like it does on the radio? Mm-hmm. And there's a big difference, because all that music has been produced by people that do this for a living. And they have thousands of dollars worth of outboard gear, which are like, you know, compressors and limiters. And there's a science to it. To make a drum, when you hear a drum go doo, and to have it go doo and sound the same way on the radio, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. And I don't have that stuff. I don't have, it's so expensive to do. So with the internet age, which is so cool, and I was doing the Nashville album, this is what I was doing. I'd go down there, I'd cut the basic tracks, I'd listen to it in the hotel room for a couple of days, go back and sing it again, fly home, listen to it, call the studio, say, okay, I really think that I want like a slide guitar on this. And then they'd call each other, and we'd get back to each other and book a time, and I'd fly down there and do it again. Now, I have a producer out in LA who is from this area originally, Steve Bertrand. Does that name sound familiar? And Steve was in a bunch of bands in the early 90s, and Steve does a lot of work for television shows and movies, music that you hear, and mixes people. And so now I email him, and I say, hey, Steve, here's a song. I want the drums to sound like this. I want the bass punched up a little bit. Do you know somebody that can play harmonica? And he gets back to me, yep. And then I send him the session files on the internet, and he pulls it up in his studio exactly like I saw it, and he adds all this stuff and then runs it through all this hocus pocus equipment, and it comes back. If I don't have the stuff with me, but if I could play you the mix that was done at my house and the mix that he did, it's the same musicians, it's the same song, it just sounds, it's literally the difference between recording your old interviews on a tape recorder or recording an interview right inside a studio.
Now, is that, I find that a lot of performers now, particularly women, because of all the sound effects and everything, I can't hardly tell some of them apart. Can you make a horrible singer sound good with all this technology? Like, could
Absolutely.
you make it sound like I knew what I was doing?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a great documentary that we used to run on NEK TV called, we still have it, it's called Before the Music Dies. And they take this guy named Steve Poltz, who's a singer-songwriter. He's written a lot for Jewel. And they give him a subject of a song and say, write it in like 3 minutes. And he writes it in 3 minutes. They take this girl who's beautiful, has absolutely no singing voice, auto-tune her, put drums and bass and like all this electrified stuff behind her, and make it sound like $1 million. They shoot a music video for it. And they play it for this guy like a week later, and he's like, "I wrote that." Like he could. I'm not doing any of that stuff, Scott. Right. My voice. I'm a singer. I'm kind of somewhere between Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan. I'm no Toby Keith. I'll have to admit.
You would be surprised though if somebody superimposed my voice into yours, and you listen to the.
We could try it.
No, that would be bad. That would be bad. All right, we only got a couple more minutes left. So how do you go about raising money?
Well, it's always something that I've just saved for and put the money in. And like I said, I spent over $3,000 so far. And, I've got this thing called a mortgage and heating fuel and electric bills. And so if I didn't do the fundraising campaign that I'm doing now, I bet this album would take another 2 years to come out. And I said, I really want this album to come out because it's really good. It's the album I wanted to make in Nashville, but in Nashville it was largely influenced by the Nashville sound.
Right.
And so I have complete creative control. So I'm trying this new thing called crowdfunding. And anybody out there that has an idea, say you're, right now you're thinking, well, I've got an idea for this thing that I invented. You can go on and you present your idea and people contribute money to help you make it reality. But you're not just giving me $10 towards my album. You're getting something in return. So every level on here that you donate, and you can do it with PayPal or you can do it with credit card or whatnot. It's an online crowdfunding campaign.
So they can find your thing right on that crowdfund?
Yep, on Indiegogo.com, and you type in my name and it comes up and you can see how much money I've raised so far. And you get something. So if you give me a certain amount of money, you get like a signed CD when it's done, and you get a handwritten thank you note from me, and you get video updates. And I've been watching people do this for about 2 years, and finally somebody convinced me to try it. Because I have this whole thing, I don't like begging for money, and I almost feel like I'm begging for money, but at the same time, I'm including everybody in this process. Like, for helping me out, you get your name in the thank you notes for the album, and you're constantly getting updates from me, and signed stuff that'd probably be worth tens of cents on eBay someday.
Oh yeah, that's it. No, it will be great someday when you're the when Toby is is opening for you.
Oh well, I would love to see that happen.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even mind opening for Toby, to be honest. But yeah, it's something new. It's a new fund, and it's not just for musicians or artists. It's for anybody out there. I was just looking at a campaign the other day. Somebody invented the hoverboard that Marty McFly got on when he came back to the future in the third installment. They've created this, and they're...
Yeah, I saw that on the news today.
Yeah, and I'm doing the same thing they are. They're trying to raise money. Now, granted, they're trying to get like $25,000.
Right.
I'm not asking for that much.
Yeah, but you would think, because I know you're the executive director of NEK TV. Six digits?
It depends where you put the decimal.
Okay, we only got about another minute. What more would you like to say?
I'm real proud of this album, and you can go onto YouTube and check out stuff I've done in the past and stuff from this album. And every little bit that we raise is great. We're going to be doing a CD release party when it comes out. We're going to invite everybody. You get stuff for donating to it, and every little bit helps. And I'm hoping, I think what's really fun about this is it's letting everybody be part of the creative process and involved, where before it was just, you didn't know I was down in Nashville recording I didn't even know you then, but this is kind of like you get an update on social media and say, oh, hey, Todd just did a photo shoot. I just did one with Randy Lee Photography. Right. And now he's in the studio recording, and I don't know, it's fun, and I hope it works.
Right.
And it does look expensive, but to do anything right, it has to. You have to invest the money in it. It's like being an artist, and you have this beautiful painting, and you want to recreate it. You've got to have somebody photograph it really nicely to do the prints. You don't just run it through a Xerox.
Right.
And it costs money to do that. So that's what I'm doing. I'm not running my music through a Xerox, Scott. I'm having it professionally preserved.
Okay, well, in all seriousness, you are a great singer. Actually, I knew you for a few years before I actually heard you sing. And it was like, wow, he can sing. Because I remember where it was. It was at the now defunct Would Not Bookshop.
Oh, yeah, we did like a Christmas thing there, didn't we?
And I say, he can sing.
Hey,
and I even have a CD.
Hey.
So it'll be worth something someday.
It will be. Well, wait till you hear this new one.
Right. Okay, well, thanks for coming on the show, and I look forward to you, telling my grandkids, hey, I knew that guy. He was my producer.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks for coming on. And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.